Well, hello, beautiful ones. It's Stacey here, the head vixen of the Vixen Academy. And I want to welcome you to my podcast where I'm going to be sharing with you, my personal story, as well as how you can turn any disappointment into an opportunity. Because I will tell you this, the digital nomad experience that I am going through, and it will be soon concluding, has really taught me to embrace the gift of flexibility. And like I shared with a lot of people, I knew that this journey was going to change me, and I was open to the opportunities because I really wasn't sure how it was going to change me, but I knew I was going outside my comfort zone and I was going to be open to receiving what it is. And one of my big lessons, I think my biggest lesson, has been around flexibility. And let me kind of get a little bit deeper into that. I'm by habit and even by profession, a planner. I did project management for 25 years in my corporate environment. I'm a coach right now, so I have to know lesson plans to get my clients and students through. So I'm a planner by heart. And especially when I was in corporate, with project management, you also not only had to have the plan, but you had to have a backup to your plan. And then where I was working, you needed to have a backup to the backup plan. So it was crazy. It was just real crazy. And what I found out about myself that when it came to business, I was able to detach myself more successfully from the plans. Was I able to detach totally 100%? Not really, but I was able to detach a majority or good sense of it. However, what I noticed though was that in my personal life, I was very attached to the plans that I was doing. And it really caused anxiety in me. And as you know, as I've been going on my healing journey and with my Buddhist mindfulness teaching, I found out that, anxiety was my main destructive emotion. And it created, worry, anxiety, and all those other things that go along with it. And so, as I've been going on my own journey, my Buddhist mindfulness teacher, thank you very much, Lama Michael, he said, yeah, of course you can plan, but expect half your plans not to go according to plan. And he goes, as long as you remember that, you should be good, right? And I was like, okay. And because it was really never something I thought about, because in corporate, you had that backup plan that was there, and you were hinging on whatever's going on, you have a way to maneuver through that. But I found out that when you go into something, into your plan, and if something doesn't go according to plan, I started telling myself, well, that must be the 50% that Lama Michael was telling that doesn't go according to plan. And that's what I kept saying to myself. And I found out the more I repeated that or said that to myself, two things happened. One is becoming more detached. Because that is how you become detached from your plan. When okay, 50% of it may not go according to plan. So you already embed that in your mind. So if something goes sideways, you go, okay, that must be what it's about. And I found that I also didn't take things as personally because it really didn't have anything to do with me. Just like when something doesn't go according to your plans, how many times do we take that personally? But in actuality, is anything really done to us on intentionally? In most instances, no, it's not. But it is, and you'll be able to see that when you are able to detach from it. And so whenever anything just kind of started going sideways, that's the first thing I would say. And then from there, it made it very easy to, okay, let's see what is the next step. And so as I'm going in my digital nomad journeys, a large part of this was I'm building a tiny mansion so I can relocate, right? Both myself and my business. And that's when, and I've been involved in this process for a while, and I started to see things with builder number one that I had selected, they were not going according to plan because there were two things that were really coming up and that were causing massive anxiety in me. One was time, and time is money, because I should have been in my house already. At least that was my plan. That was my thought, right? And that also was what was communicated to my builder. But for 6 months, dragging their feet, trying to get pricing and doing all this stuff, boom, they blew through and missed my deadline, right? Which was the end of this month, end of May, 2023. And so I started feeling that I was not in alignment with what was going on. And then I could also start to feel the domino effect of anxiety and worry starting to creep itself in, right? And I started to feel like I was going down that rabbit hole. And in that moment, like whenever you feel that you're starting to go down a rabbit hole and it's a familiar feeling to you, the very next thing to do is when you run, you have to recognize that feeling. And then the next thing you do is you just stop. You suspend that feeling and that thought. So what I did was I said, no, I am not going to allow this to create anxiety and worry within me. And so I was like, okay, there are two questions that I ask myself. And these are the same two questions I want you to ask yourself, because this is how you can turn disappointment into an opportunity. This is also, these two questions is also how you turn disempowerment into empowerment. This is also how you transform going down that rabbit hole and easily suspending yourself from going the rest of the way. Because once you go down that rabbit hole, it becomes so much harder to dig yourself out. So one of the things that helps is first you stop and suspend the thought and you suspend the feeling for a moment. And then you ask yourself this first question. And so I asked myself, what am I supposed to learn from this situation? What am I supposed to learn? And when you ask yourself that question, what you're doing is you're tapping into your earth school lesson. You're tapping into what the universe or your source, whatever you call it, is trying to teach you so that you can make easier decisions, or in the long run, have an easier life for yourself. But what happens is this is part of the growing pains. But really, it's a lesson. Just like if you were to go and take a college course, or just like if you were to be in one of my coaching programs, right? Because I teach and I train, is like taking a lesson. So this is the earth school lesson. So you first say, what am I supposed to learn? And so when I suspended the anxiety and worry for a moment and asked myself that question, this is what came up. The first answer that came up was, this is an opportunity. The universe is teaching me to own my voice. And the universe is also, in addition to that, because they're both intertwined, the universe is also teaching me to own my worth. And this is how. Well, I owned my voice by expressing to the present my concerns about these surprises that were coming up that were never disclosed in the estimate that they first provided to me. And it was just all these random things that were going on. And so the first time I expressed concern, they seemed to react to that and acknowledge that. Okay, all right, good, we're back on track. But then boom, another shock happened like 2 weeks later. I expressed my concern there. Did I get much of a reply or acknowledgement around that? Nope. And then literally a couple of days later, boom, a third surprise. And then I expressed my concern again a third time. And then the reply I got from the builder was, oh, I'm real busy right now. I may only have 10 minutes. Oh, really? I'm investing thousands of dollars and you're too busy? So guess what? I went into the next corrective action on owning my voice and owning my worth. I employ a technique called 3 strikes and you're out. And it's around having healthy boundaries, right? I did a special training with my Love Data students, and I'm going to be sending that out in the future for everyone as a gift, right? But what happens is the 3 strikes and you're out is, you know what? You express yourself 3 times, and if they don't respect what you say, boom, they're gone, they're out. Now, I have been doing that for decades when it came to personal relationships, but it only was until this past year in this digital nomad experience that I started to apply that to businesses and even friendships and all areas, right? And so that is what I did. 3 strikes, boom, they are out. Because two of the things were they did not respect my investment allocation that I had for this project. It actually came in over twice my budget. And that was insulting to me. And then the next thing they didn't respect was my time, because time is money. And so I was actually losing money because I'm bouncing around from all of these different locations, and it was affecting my business. And so what happened is if they're not respecting what I'm saying, they're not respecting me. And so as a project manager by trade, I said, okay, when I was in business, okay, what did I do there? Well, when there's a bottleneck, there are 2 things you do in project management. You either try to correct the bottleneck, which is what I did, but if it can't be corrected, you replace the bottleneck. And so that's exactly what I did. I thought for 5 minutes, oh my God, did I waste my time for a year? And I said, no, I did not, because I was able to get a beautiful design. I was able to crystallize my vision with the first builder. And that vision came out of my brain. And so it can be replicated with somebody else. And so that leads to the second question that you ask yourself to turn disappointment into an opportunity. So I asked myself, how can I be creative? See, that's where the opportunity is how can you be creative? How can you think outside the box? So this is how that looked like for me. And I invite you to kind of try this on for size for yourself. So like I said, the first thing I said and how I can be creative is I can replicate my vision with a new builder, because that came out of my head. And the designer for the first builder put it in a way where, poof, it came to life. Well, I can do that with another builder. And then it was an opportunity for a do-over. You remember I shared another podcast around an opportunity for a do-over, right? And that was like in the WTF of digital nomad life. And so this was an opportunity to do a do-over. So I said to myself, I love the design I envisioned with builder number 1. How can I reimagine that? So what I did is I looked at other builders. I actually brought back into play a builder I was considering the first time. And so I brought them back into play and realized this is an opportunity to do a do-over with them as well. Because what I decided to do with my perspective, especially when you're given an opportunity for a do-over, I said, okay, the first time I was dealing with this other builder, I was just so caught up in what they couldn't do. I said, now I'm giving an opportunity for a do-over. So I said, now I'm going to focus on what can they do? Because that was the opposite of what I was how I was thinking the last time. So now I focus on what can they do? And here is where I got surprised. I found out in a matter of like 2 weeks that a builder I considered over a year ago could do way more than I thought they could do. But I couldn't see it at the time, but I could see it now, right? It is because I was focusing on what they can do. So I decided to put on, all right, girl, put on a different mindset shift here, right? So this is how you turn lemons into lemonade. You have that shift with your mindset. So this is what I said to myself. I said, you know what? This is giving you the opportunity to be your own project manager, like you're an HGTV star. Because I felt like I was on one of those shows, like I was sitting down with the first designer, with the builder, because even though this is not my first property that I've owned, but this is the first time I went through a design process like that. And I thought it was so much fun and it was so invigorating. So what happened was I learned a lot. And I said, okay, just pretend like you on HGTV. And that's how I was when I was in Lowe's, Home Depot, at design centers, all these different places. And it then turned this experience into fun and excitement. And so as I was going through and I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, that disappointment that I was experiencing from the first builder dissipated, totally dissipated. Yes, I felt the feelings of that disappointment, but I quickly went into opportunity. And then here was the shocker that I received. I have been saying that this whole experience for me is luxury for less, how you can get luxury for less. And for me, in my mind, I thought luxury for less was I'm getting a luxury, design, or I can have certain luxuries in my home because I'm doing a tiny mansion. So it's a smaller footprint. So it's going to be less money. That is what my thinking was. However, that is not what the universe was thinking. This is what the universe was truly thinking. And this was the shocker. When I got the pricing from the builder that I just went into contract with, when I got the pricing on that, it was over $100,000 less than with builder number one. I was in total disbelief. I was in total shock. I was even shaking. I had to sit down and I contacted him. I said, okay, is this real? Is something must be missing in this? How can this be? I was in total disbelief. And they're like, no, 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 that is what it is. And when I looked at the difference, this is what I saw. Builder number one was nickel and diming me like they do in some of the airlines now, where you buy a plane ticket, but then you have to pay for your freaking seat. What are you going to do? Sit on the wing, or just hold on to the wing of the plane so you can get to where you have to go? It's ridiculous, but that's what they're doing now, at least here in the States with the airlines. This is how builder number one was. Selling me a house where I had to pay incremental for windows. Whereas in the builder that I am going with, the windows come in the base price of the house. Go figure, right? And things of that nature. That is what the big things were. And I was flabbergasted. And then that's when I noticed, oh my word, the universe is giving me exactly what I wanted. Luxury for less. I got the luxury design with builder number one, and now builder number two is doing it for significantly less, over $100,000 less than builder number one. That is what luxury for less is. And so with that, I realize, and I invite you to look at this even more closely within your own life. This digital nomad experience has definitely taught me this. The universe does give us what we want, but rarely does it look like how we expect it to look. And that is being attached to the plan, expecting it to look a particular way. And if I stayed stuck to how I wanted it to look, I would have lost so much money. I would be in total anxiety and worry right now, and I would not be sharing this wisdom with you right now. And that is the gift of flexibility right there. And the more and more and more you do this by asking yourself those two questions, when you want to turn disappointment into opportunity, or when things don't go according to plan, what am I supposed to learn from this? And how can I be creative? That is when you step into the empowering lesson of flexibility that will make your life significantly easier, and anxiety will be a thing of the past. And so I invite you to do those things right here, right now. If anything that's going on in your life is causing you disappointment or not going according to plan, I want you to ask yourself those two questions so that you can transcend that right now. All right. And so that is the wisdom I want to share with you on my life design journeys that I'm going through. And if you are wanting to make a shift in your life, if you want to turn disappointment into opportunity so you can up level your experiences so that you can step into thriving, I invite you, give me a buzz. Send me an email at vixenacademy@gmail.com or visit me on my website, thevixenacademy.com, and let's have a chat so that you can be experiencing more flexibility, flow, and joy and opportunities in your life. And with that, we are complete, and namaste.